Start recording.
Do you have a trash can? I'm gonna spit out my gum.
Outside. We're
Outside,
4,
okay.
so we don't have them in the classrooms anymore. That away from us. We used to. Not anymore.
Why do you take them out?
Because we had to cut a lot of BSWs, and so because there were a lower number of BSWs, they didn't have the ability to have trash cans in every single classroom because it would have taken a lot more time. The more you know, the more you pulse. So, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so as you guys can see, I'm doing my presentation over the murder of Princess Diana. So to begin, I just want to start you guys off with what happened that morning, or like early morning, late night. So in the early hours of August 31st, 1997, the Princess of Wales and her boyfriend at the time, Dodi Fayed, had gone into their Mercedes, and they were leaving from the Hotel Ritz, which was one of the hotels that the Fayeds had owned. Their driver, Henry Paul, and a bodyguard, Trevor Reese Jones, were taking them to their apartment building and in order to like get them home for the night. And both of these men were members of the Fayed family's personal protection team. So Diana and Dodi, this is really important, that they were not wearing seatbelts whenever they got into the Mercedes. And at 12:23 a.m., Paul had lost control of the vehicle inside of a tunnel. The paparazzi had swarmed the vehicle, and there's reports of people saying like that Diana was screaming like, "Oh my gosh, what just happened?" She was she was in shock. So on impact, Dodi Fayed and Trevor Reese, or not Trevor Reese, and Henry Paul had died on impact. So they were no longer alive, and Diana was really the only one that was conscious because Trevor Reese had suffered like serious facial injuries and head contusions. So the ambulance was rushed to the scene, and they took Diana to the hospital, but unfortunately, as we all know, she would not make it. So Princess Diana's death was really tragic, not only for the British royal family, but for like everyone else in the surrounding countries. A lot of people mourned her death and were very like sympathetic for the British family that she had died because of how much of an impactful figure that she was in the country and around the world. But people were very, very skeptical about how Diana and even Dodi had died. Like the stories that were being released by the media just didn't seem to add up, and there was a lot of evidence that didn't seem to make any sense. And this is where the conspiracies began. So today I ask you that you open your mind and you listen and just try to understand and maybe look deeper into what happened to Princess Diana. So Muhammad, can you advance it too, actually?
One more.
Yeah, thank you. So Muhammad Al Fayed is Dodi Fayed's father. He was a wealthy businessman, and a lot of people knew him. He was Muslim, and many people knew who he was. So he claims that Diana had become pregnant with his son Dodi's child, and that it was unpalatable to the British state that she was pregnant, according to Andrew Griffin. So at this time in Diana's life, she and Prince Charles had divorced. They weren't doing well for a long time, and they had divorced. And she had actually gotten with Dodi Fayed in the summer, and many rumors were spreading like this that she was pregnant with his child. So Fayed had said that the royal family could not accept that an Egyptian Muslim could eventually be the stepfather of the future King of England, being Prince Harry, and I forgot the other one's name, but the other one, Edward. Well, I don't know, but so they did not want her to be him to be in the life of their child, the future king. So they plotted to kill her, is one of the theories, according to Andrew Griffin also. So rumors about her pregnancy had come up even before Diana was killed in the car crash. Al Fayed claims that during their final day together, Diana and Dodi had went to buy an apartment from him. He owned an apartment complex, and they had gone to buy an apartment, and she had mentioned this room would be perfect for the baby. That's what he claims, and he continues to claim it over and over again in court. So Dodi and Diana were about to be engaged, and they were obviously getting a new apartment and starting their life together. whenever this happened. So another really interesting aspect is that after this had happened and like the British state had released this, like that Diana had died in an accident, Henry Paul, the driver's father, thought that his son like had felt deep in his heart that his son was simply collateral damage and that the British state was actually trying to kill Diana off because of her pregnancy with Dodi Fayed's son. So the newspapers also speculated that she may be pregnant for many reasons. So Diana was making very mysterious comments about like a big surprise that she wanted to share with everyone. So I mean, obviously you can see like in this picture, I guess maybe not from where you guys are, but whenever I was putting this slide together, you can see like she does look a little like pregnant, like she looks like she could be carrying. And like I think that a lot of the pictures that you look at do show like she could be like showing some pregnancy. So the Daily Mail had actually reported that the police source from France claimed that Princess Diana was pregnant when she died, so like a post-mortem autopsy had shown that, but it was never really confirmed, and they didn't really look that far into it because I think, in my opinion, that they were trying to cover it up, so they didn't want to look too far into it. That was according also to Richard England. Diana believed that she would be killed. So Diana herself like was having, ever since she started like dating and being around the Fayeds, she had felt in her heart that like something was not right, and Charles had been very, very like weird to her, and she had actually written a letter to her former butler, and he kept it just in case, but the letter was saying that Diana would be, from Prince Charles, that she would be in a serious accident if she didn't like stop what she was doing. So there's like a lot of people don't know that, and I didn't even know that whenever I looked more into this. That was according to Smith, Ella Frithrew Smith, I don't know if that's the English name, I guess. So although Diana had has since like a very large concern about her safety, I think that this is not even the most sinister theory that there is out there. So, and many forms of this next one are very like compelling. So the next theory, can you switch out? I'm sorry. Okay. So the next theory is that Henry Paul, the driver, had intentionally caused the crash. This is also according to Andrew Griffin. So Henry Paul, as we all know, crashed the car. No one really knows why he crashed the car or like what had happened in that moment before he crashed the car. So the only thing that we know is that there is an operation called Operation Paget, which was an operation into the death of Princess Diana, and they covered every single possible like theory. It's like a 235-page document, and they covered every single possible conspiracy that she died, and one of the most like compelling was the fact that Henry Paul did this on like purpose, or he was paid to do this. So after the Operation Paget looked into the toxicology report, it showed that he had 20.7% carbon monoxide in his blood, which, as we all know, carbon monoxide is a toxic gas. It's not good for you. And this was in excess of around 30 to 35% of what you should actually have in your blood. So the test on his blood also indicated that there was alcohol, nicotine, and other drugs in his system at the time whenever he died. Paul was also taking thiophride, which helps with alcohol withdrawal syndromes, and that, like, when mixed with other drugs, I'm sure could be deadly. I didn't look that far into it, but I mean, you should never really mix your drugs together. Paul's blood alcohol was also 3 times the limit, so he was also taking antidepressants, and his blood alcohol level was way above the limit. Paul had worked for the Fayeds for 11 years, so he knew what he was doing. He knew what he should and shouldn't be doing on the job, and obviously, having a high BAC and doing a lot of drugs before driving the employer of the Fayeds was not good. So people believe that this was caused by just negligence of him and that it was his fault. So the next theory is that the paparazzis were not actually the real paparazzis, and that they were actually like government agents from M16, which is a British like government thing. And that there's three theories surrounding that, and that is that the paparazzi chased the Mercedes, and that there's arguments that the paparazzi encouraged the crash, and then there was evidence that the paparazzi had actually accidentally done that. So the main theory for that is that the paparazzis didn't know who was around them. There was 2 people that they didn't even know were paparazzis, and they didn't have any evidence of being there. So in conclusion, while this death isn't ruled an official murder case, it is definitely something that we all should look farther into.